Brad here on the OBS. So we're going to attempt to take a call and see if Comcast behaves through it and talk to Nutella Waffles of Adamantoise. What's going on, Nutella?
It's going good, guys. How are y'all doing today, besides the internet crapping out on y'all?
Yeah, besides that, not bad. Anyway, so you may be on borrowed time. I don't want to limit your time, so go ahead and get straight to your point, Nutella.
My point is, I was going to call in because of the tweet I sent you, specifically in Nero, that I wanted to have a grown-up discussion about one of my disagreements with something y'all put out.
Okay, sure.
I don't agree with how you're always harping on about the boss in a circle room. To me, it's more important what goes on with that boss in the circle room, because you could have the greatest arena ever, but if the boss is a boring fight, it don't matter shit how great the arena is, whatever the arena is.
I mean, yes, that's valid.
Sure.
But at the same time, though, it's, again, there's never any deviation from that, you know, like that formula, right?
If I might also add a very, I think what's really, really important to this discussion, because I 100% agree with you, but look at where we started with the Binding Coil, when they were actual raid zones with great boss fights, and now look where we are
to the tune
now.
where an entire turn was trash. You know what I mean? Like, not like it sucked so bad it was trash, but that it was all trash mobs,
and
because it was telling a story.
And now they've sort of just basically trimmed it all down to only being. We know they can make an actual zone that actually feels like a real place. We know they can do it because they've done it before. So I think one of the reasons we're so critical about it and we harp them so much is because they don't do it, and they could.
Well, for me, this whole raid tier, excluding this the third and fourth turn of each tier, has been nothing but crap. I'm not going to deny that. And would trash mobs help those fights? Absolutely not. Because
no, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. I don't think that just adding trash mobs is the answer.
Is the fix.
Right,
correct.
but something a little bit more visionary to do with raid scenarios, and you know, the notion
successful. Sorry.
Nice.
Nice job, Morgan.
Hilariously derailing one-liner.
I love it. Anyway, so yeah, I definitely think that you know, there's so much that could have been done by Square-Enix to even shake up the formula of what constitutes a strong MMO raid. And to just kind of boil down raiding to singular boss encounters is, I think, a bad way to do it. But I do agree with you that it is the merits of the fight that do end up mattering a whole lot more. I've been playing Elder Scrolls Online. And the thing that I keep noticing during dungeons in that game is the clever way that they use zone design to be able to reroute or refunnel players back into a previous part of a dungeon that is now being repurposed for a boss fight. There are certain dungeons that are all forward progression and do somewhat resemble what an FF14 dungeon looks like, where it's just forward trash, boss, trash, boss, etc. But there are other dungeons that have optional side bosses that you can do for more loot. There's reasons to grind for loot out of dungeons. There's really, in FF14, no reason to grind for loot out of dungeons. And the core complaint that I've always had with raiding in FF14 is that you can't just nullify the importance of the gear in 2 patches and expect people to keep up with the scene out of, I don't know, just like desire to want to be good. Like, that doesn't do enough to motivate lazy ass players like me to get in there and do it. But when it was story that was gated behind difficult content, when it was gear that looked awesome and also had great stats, and we didn't know for sure that it was going to be trash in 2 updates. That was highly motivating, not just for me, but for a large degree of the community. And they, somewhere along the way, they lost sight of that, and I think that now we're seeing the problem extend even into the casual parts of the community, where players who only ever grind dungeons are going, hey, wait, that's the same loot that we had 6 patches ago. Not even 6 patches, like 4 patches ago. You know what I mean? Like, that shit is starting to wear on players, and I don't know how Square Enix intends to keep people around if they keep doing this shit.
Well, I've had a different experience. I'm going to go to my personal favorite fight in the game, A11 Savage, and say I will go into that fight right now, level sync down, and do that fight all over again because it was a fun fight. The gear, it's relevant for progression. It's relevant for, if you're trying to do something speed killing or whatever. The gear is relevant to me because I want to be, doing high damage. I want to get good parses. But when it comes down to it, I want to go into a fight and have fun. You take a fight like O1S, I honestly think, and I will put it out there, they should fire whoever the hell made that fight, because you cannot take away AoE markers and make it able to fall off the edge and call it Savage. That is just asinine, in my opinion. Yet they do something like O3S, where you have to interact with the arena, know what the hell you're doing. It's interactive as a fight, and you get something really great out of it. You get a great experience out of it.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. I wish Nika could hear us.
She says she's in the Zoom call but can't hear her for some reason. What I'm gonna attribute something to, and I've also seen this echoed by a lot of people who play FF14 who've been watching me play World of Warcraft, even just doing Mythic Dungeons. I know we joke a lot about this idea of immersion, right? But there is a certain degree of enjoyment that I think overall affects you as a player when you feel like the place that you are actually exists within the world. When I was running Eye of the Storm or whatever it was in Legion, which is basically just, it looks like a zone, and someone's like, what is all that stuff in the back? Like, do you have to go and clear those? And I'm like, no, not really. You don't have to. I mean, obviously you can, but there's no need to. But and they're like, that's actually really cool. I actually really like that where you're at feels like it's a place and not just a hallway or a single room where this boss just apparently stands forever.
Well, and a sense of place, I think, is important, and a sense of reason for why that boss is standing there is actually also kind of important, right? Like, it's little intention or attention to detail that helps set those things up properly for the rest of your audience. And FF14 has none of that. It's just like, oh, hey, you're teleported into this Sigma room, whatever the fuck it is, this fucking simulation room. You know what I mean?
And then fight.
Like, the fact that they used that ghost train in the way that they did the first Omega fight, right? The way that should have been a train moving us through somewhere in Eorzea, instead of just like, oh, it's this digital simulation that exists in a non-space that you just warp in and out of, right? Like,
that's so much more work.
But like, it would have been such an effective method of clearing space. Like, if that fight occurred on your way to Garlemald, right? Like, that would have been a much more impactful way to use a fight like that. Instead of just, oh, well, when you're not there, what does it just disappear into the Matrix? What the fuck?
You know, our Arjun Esper in the chat here says that he doesn't think that the boxing ring style boss fights are a bad thing. I just think that 90% of the game's content being that is a bit silly. And you know what? Back in A Realm Reborn, when we were doing trials and then we had Bahamut raids, nobody was complaining about Circle Arena bosses, so you're right. It's all been reduced down to nothing but that. And
yes,
caller, to your point, I agree. just adding in more immersion or more trash packs or whatnot wouldn't necessarily just solve the problem out of the blue. There is no easy fix to solve the issues that I have with 14.
I also think people a lot of times forget that there are trash mobs that, like, as you're moving through Sigmascape, as the story is going along, that they make you fight to be able to unlock the scenarios. So in a way, they do add that, but it's so transient that it's like, who even remembers that part of the quest line? Yeah. And to me, again, raids should set a sense of place, right? Like that's what was so awesome about the sunken city of Macaque, right?
Yeah.
Macaque.
That was one of the most well-designed raids.
Yes.
Period. And Ozma was in there, and on the idea of, you know, you can just have a circle room so long as the boss fight is good. You're right. Technically, Ozma was just a circle room.
Okay, well,
and that boss fight was great.
It was more like a donut room.
Point is, though, they took what they had been working with and found a way to make it unique and interesting. And the biggest problem I have with Square-Enix when it comes to raiding is that they're not. It feels like they're not trying.
No, I agree with that.
They haven't tried since Coil.
Oh, welcome back, Nika. So glad you could join the conversation.
Hi. It's nice to be back.
Yeah, you're welcome. We fixed your mistake that you did. And
My
it's
mistake.
Not our fault at all.
Not at all.
Yeah, Nika, did you want to chime in on this, being the only person who actually does do the fucking raids?
Trying to follow where you are in the conversation. I'm actually a little worried considering I don't know how much you guys have talked about the new Suzaku trial, but it looks like a copy paste of it looks like a copy paste of Phoenix, which I know was one of the like most well received raids of Coil, and people are like, man, Phoenix was such a good fight. Like,
so Square-Enix is like, let's just redo that. Oh man.
Everything about Suzaku, there's even like the little Benus that tether to you. So like I don't know. So
they're not gonna make the Suzaku fight be just a repeat of
I know, but like Phoenix it looks so much.
Praise Nika.
What?
Thank you. No. It looks like I mean, I'm sure it's not going to be 100% the same mechanics. I'm just like, but it does seem like it's reused ideas.
They're just reusing the model because they spent their load off of Buff Akko.
Yeah. Did you have anything else to add, Nutella?
Not much. Just to Reddit. Stop trying to shout these guys down. They have legitimate criticisms. I have legitimate criticisms, and I'm here calling in saying I love this game. I disagree with them. Let's have a grown-up conversation like the adults we all claim to be, even though we play video games and act like children all the time.
Yeah. What was this? Are you satisfied with the adult level of the conversation that you received?
Completely. I mean, yeah, I disagreed. You disagreed, and we both couldn't come to the same view, but I think we walk away respecting one another.
Yeah, totally.
Is it all right with you if I touch your penis?
We'll go in the back and rub dickhead sometime.
Let's not. That's a little bit not my thing.
What happened to the adult conversation we were having?
It's over. It's done.
He said it was over.
We put an end cap in it, and now we're back to dick jokes.
Go touch it, dick.
Nutella Waffles, thanks for calling in, man, and having a mature discussion with us.
Thanks for having me.
All right. If you want to give us a call, hopefully while our internet still lasts, Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord.